Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. I'm your host and the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent Wheat. Well, it's getting to be summer, and I thought I would talk to Tom McHale, the editor of American Handgunner Magazine. He kind of gets on his soapbox when he hears people talking about, well, I downsize my gun or do something different when it's hot. And Tom's a big advocate of carrying a full-size gun all the time, but we're going to talk about it, and we do make some accommodations for hot weather, but we're going to talk about that right now. Well,
I didn't see you hit the button. I'm like, sorry. Okay, now I'm ready.
That's going in the podcast.
Great.
Well, welcome, Tom, even though you are apparently stripping your clothing off to the podcast.
We're talking about too hot, right?
Yeah. Well, since you did the perfect intro, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's too hot. It's just so hot. And you know, I know you get righteous about this topic, and you live in Charleston, South Carolina, where the humidity can sometimes get to 160%. So you know of what you speak. So I thought we'd talk about it.
Fact.
Exactly. In a prior life, I spent a lot of time down there, and I spent a lot of time in Florida, and it gets hot, but man, something about Charleston is just like the humidity is just the worst of any place I think I've ever been. So, but I've not been to Panama, so maybe, probably worse there, but not much.
We keep trying to inject steam, throughout the area to keep all the people from Ohio and New York away, but it's not working. Maybe
that's what they need to do down in Florida. So, okay, enough of that topic. Well, we're going to talk about, as I said, it's too hot to carry. And you disagree, Tom. I know that's a shocker, but you disagree.
Yeah, I do. Well, what did you say? What did you say yesterday? We were talking about the podcast, and you said, "What are you feeling froggy about?" Froggy? Yeah. Is that your word? Froggy. Yeah. I kind of like that.
Feeling all froggy about it.
Well, you know what? It's that season where everybody starts to talk about, I got to switch to my summer carry gear. Like, what is summer carry gear? That's what I get froggy about. Seriously, what is summer carry gear?
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, and just to stir the pot, but I kind of mean it, I think it's lazy. It's like, well, hey, this is my excuse to carry a tiny little gun that weighs nothing. I mean, even though I can't shoot it worth a darn, or it doesn't work, or whatever. Right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm wearing shorts and a short sleeve shirt, And so, I'm froggy about that because I don't have a summer carry rig.
Well, I'll show you my summer carry rig. It's this. It's the Taurus Judge
shorts
with the 15-inch barrel. No, I thought that was pretty funny. But
so IWB carry. Let's talk about how you pull that one off.
Well, I do have a full-size government model here. And I know guys.
I like how you keep the tag on it.
Well, that one came to me. It's a Nighthawk Custom, and I'm not going to carry it because not that it's not a great carry gun, but it's pretty and it's really expensive. And I'm afraid after 6 months of me carrying it all sweaty and gungy in the heat, and it's a blued gun, it might be some pitting and pitting on a gun like that, you need to take your own life unless you're independently wealthy. So that's why that one's got the tag. That one is absolutely a safe queen. So anyway.
All right.
But you were saying
I might give you that one just for the summer carry and only for sweat, not because of size and weight. Exactly.
And honestly, I agree with you. We titled this Wine Snivel Wine, but really isn't it Masad Ayub says guns are supposed to be, or no, it was Clint Smith. Guns are supposed to be comforting, not comfortable. So, okay, I've set this all up for you. Go on a diatribe. Go for it.
Well, the diatribe is simple. It's you can carry a regular gun, and by regular, I mean full size. So, and let's get something really clear. I talk about carrying a full size or a proper size or a regular size gun all the time. I'm not talking about more powerful, and I'm not even necessarily talking about capacity. I mean, capacity is nice. I'll never complain about, having extra ammo on board. That's a good thing. And if you don't use it, great. No problem. So what I'm talking about is size in terms of being able to shoot something well and, more importantly, confidently. With any kind of shooting, I think the most important aspect is once the decision is made to shoot for whatever reason, recreation, training, practice, self-defense, you need to hit what you're aiming at. That's kind of right up there on the importance list,
Kind of important.
Kind of important. So for me, your mileage may vary. A proper full-size gun, I am far more able under stress and hurry and speed and all these things to hit what I'm aiming at with a proper size gun.
Yep.
It's that simple, right?
It is.
So that's my frogginess. My frogginess is, you say, well, I can't carry that. I'm too small, or I'm too fat, or I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or, whatever. Well, balderdash. Is that a word still?
It is still a word. It's in the old guy's dictionary, but it's still a word.
Codswallop. That's what I say to that. Okay. It's the British version, right? Of balderdash.
I guess so. Wow.
I think balderdash is like Yosemite Sam. It's like Old West. In Codswallop, you go across the pond. That's what you say when you just flat out reject an argument. So,
well, okay.
Froggy Thursday. I warned you.
Yes, it is. Well, I tell a story when we're talking about gun size. We were teaching a class, an introductory class years ago, and there was a diminutive lady. I believe she was a doctor, but she was very tiny in all aspects, just a little bitty person. And she had a gun that her husband had given her, and I don't remember what it was. And it doesn't matter for the story, but she couldn't shoot it at all. And in those situations, we make sure it's not user error, but it was a crappy gun, didn't fit her well. And so we said, well, how about you borrow one of our guns? And it turns out all we had available at that point was a full-size government model. And we told her what it was, and she's like, oh, my husband said I'm too small for that. And, it kicks and all this stuff. She was the top gun in the class after she got used to it and said, well, I'm going to carry this. And we're like, you understand, it's bigger. And she goes, but I can hit with it, and I can hit really hard. It's like, she got
Instead of 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we taught her proper recoil management. She had little tiny hands, but she still, made it work. And that's what I always think of, because you would occasionally get great big guys, my size and bigger. Well, my hands won't reach. It's like, dude, I can show you Miss Doctor, whatever she was. I mean, she literally was, 5 feet and 99 pounds soaking wet. And she ran that thing like a champ. If she can do it, you can do it. So Mr. Tactical middle-aged guy that you've got all your cool gear. If you're sniveling about you can't carry a gun because it's too big, or even manipulate it's too big, really? Come on. So that's my rant and tirade.
I agree. And again, it's not even necessarily about the power or capacity. It's about physically larger. And why is that good? It's got a longer sight radius, easier to aim quickly and easily. It's got more surface area to interact with your hand, so you can control it better. I mean, you can put more space for your support hand to get partially on the grip and around the front. There's just proper size means everything, right?
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about a big misconception, especially among less experienced shooters. The hard part to hiding a gun isn't necessarily the barrel. That's what they always think of. I waved that Taurus Judge around with, I forget, it's 14-inch or whatever. That might be a little much, but if you've ever seen those video demonstrations of guys that will say, he's unarmed, and then he, pulls a couple lever actions and some shotguns and 15, handguns, full-size handguns, it's not the barrel that causes you trouble. It's the hand grip. And, you can shorten that a little bit. Everything's a compromise and a trade-off. So you have, as you said, less bearing surface and all that. But really, you can have a long-barreled gun, a government model, 5-inch or whatever. And as long as you can keep that grip concealed using whatever you're using and whatever you're wearing, that's pretty easy. And you're only talking something, a few inches long. So yes, it can be hidden. So,
and just to be clear, and I agree 100% with you, which I will never admit publicly.
I was going to say,
yeah. So this is just between us, right? So,
between us girls,
exactly. So we are talking about inside the waistband, because if you're outside, obviously, you got to have a longer shirt with a longer barrel. So, but inside, I like to say it's free. The barrel size, and there are actually some carry positions. It's better to have a longer frame and barrel, kind of appendix is a good example of that. It actually, for a lot of people, it works a little better with a longer gun rather than a shorter one because of the lever kind of hinging motion around the belt line. So absolutely, it's the grip.
Well, let's talk about, I will make some accommodations for summer, and basically it revolves around sweat. So I tend to, and we've talked about it before. We're always carrying different guns all the time because that's what we do. I do tend to carry some of the proprietary, high speed, low drag finishes. I tend not to carry blue when it's really hot because I sweat like, insert your favorite euphemism there. And, I learned that lesson years ago, a nice blued government model. And it wasn't even that hot, but I didn't lovingly wipe it down every day after carry. And even though I did still, sweat is not just salt. There's acids involved and all that. And the gun ended up pitting, and it's still functional and all that, but it's just not as pretty. So, I will change out to the different gun finishes, and, I'm kind of branching off into two topics here. And don't forget, even stainless steel will certainly pit and rust. I've proven that, unfortunately. But I was also going to say that I do tend to go to Kydex at that point. Again, same thing. Anybody's had the experience of taking their gun off and their holster is just wet leather, and you're thinking that's all sweat and oil and acid. So I do tend to make that change. But you're curmudgeonly. You probably wear a blued gun and a leather holster, right?
No. I do too. I make a similar change to what you do. I don't really carry true blued polished guns for exactly that reason. Even, in cooler months, you're still going to get sweat on it. It's still going to get moisture and that kind of stuff. And you're right. They will, unless you baby it a lot, it's going to take some maintenance. So, most of the things I carry are going to have some kind of, pick your name du jour of the black, diamond like finish or, polymer grips and this kind of stuff. So, it just holds up.
Yeah. And I will make a prediction.
I do Kydex too. In the winter, I love a good leather holster, but I find, in the summertime when it's warmer and it starts to get a little damp, they get stickier. So it kind of interferes with the draw a little bit, where Kydex is same every time, regardless of temperature conditions.
Exactly. And I was getting ready to say that if folks are watching this on YouTube, I guarantee I'll get at least one comment that, well, I'm carrying blued such and such and have for 48 years on a leather holster, and it's just fine. You just need to maintain your guns. Okay.
More power to you.
Exactly.
I won't necessarily
Good for you.
Disagree.
Yeah. But speaking as somebody who has carried a gun every single day of my life since probably age early 20s, both vocationally and just off-duty type stuff, I've carried a lot of guns a long time. And I'll be honest with you, and if you're different, Tom, it wouldn't surprise me, but I think you're the same way. There are days when you take your gun off and you don't lovingly polish it, wipe down everything, make sure it functions. I just don't do that. And I would venture to say the majority of shooters don't. Yes, we should all wipe it down with a silicone cloth and all. We should. But do we? I don't think so. So if you do, good for you. Hey, carry that blued government model. I'm all for it. But in the rest of the world, I have to factor in maintenance. And we know what we should do, and then there's what we really do. So
I'm no commenting on that. Just don't want to share bad habits publicly. No, I will give it a quick look when I pull it out, and if there's visible moisture on it, I may hit it with a paper towel.
Yeah.
Or whatever's handy.
Well, we've all probably had that experience as a younger person. The first time you take the grips off of your stainless steel whatever, and it's like, well, that looks like rust. Well, because it is rust. Well, it's stainless steel. It's not supposed to do that. And I do wipe it down occasionally. And, it's part of the equation. So when it's hot and sticky and icky, I go to the Miracle Finishes and haven't had any problem yet, even though I could probably find a way to rust, some kind of diamondite finish, but it is what it is.
That's why they make them. That's why they make Miracle Finishes. So
exactly.
I'm with you on that.
Exactly. So you don't switch to some kind of outside the belt or something like that when it gets hot?
Not. I carry exactly the same way. And I actually, for daily carry, I pretty much use the same holster and gun year round. So
see, I like to carry
that. I like that --11 platform, although I've kind of gravitated more frequently to a 2011 type platform, 9mm double stack rather than a single stack. But I do love single stack 1911s in any caliber. So never hesitate to pick up one of those.
Yeah. Well, I got to admit, I'm really enamored with the subcompact 9s. I do like the fact that, I'm a larger guy. I can carry it short of going down to gym shorts. I can carry that same place in a Kydex holster. I've got a pad on the inside. And I can't think who's making that, but I carry that pretty much every place all the time and don't have any worries. And if I get the other day I was mowing, and normally I'll take my gun off when I'm mowing because it's just really hot and sweaty at that point. And I don't know why I did, but I left it on, and the back pad was actually soaked. So I took the gun out, wiped it down, but it was no worse for the wear, and I was protected mowing. So
in case your lawnmower went all Christine on you, then
exactly.
you were ready to go.
Well, I believe when we were talking about this, emailing back and forth, didn't you say you plan to pick up your mower and sling it at people, right?
I usually don't carry when I'm mowing the lawn, but when you're holding on to that handle at the top, if you're really strong, you just pick the whole thing up from there and just wave it around. It's quite effective.
Yeah. I would say most of the time or some of the time, that's when I go to the fanny pack. And I do it mainly because of sweat and perspiration and all that. And it's a fanny pack. It's a man purse. It's a merce. It's whatever you want to call it. But that works pretty good for me. And it's just a cheap, Wally World kind of fanny pack, and I wear it in the front. The only modification I've made is I use there's different names for them, but they're a guard that goes over the trigger so that you can't get a spare pocket knife or chapstick or whatever in the trigger guard, and commonly called like a bikini holster or something like that, and it just covers the trigger guard, made out of Kydex. So I'll put that on, and then I will also, on the zipper that goes to the compartment that actually got the gun, I'll put some paracord about 3 inches long, so I can if things get that crazy, I want to just go for the paracord zipper and rip it open. And I've got the little bikini holster tied to the pack. So when I pull the gun out, it zips off and I'm ready to go.
I'm having a little bit of trouble taking you seriously talking about bikini holsters.
I know. Well, I'm wearing my Speedo when I mow.
Oh, good. Great.
Okay.
You do you.
For those who are listening to the audio only portion of the podcast, Tom just vomited on camera. So anyway. Okay. Well, let's talk about off-body carry. Is there ever a time where you specifically go to off-body carry?
Yeah, I a couple of different situations. I like to ride a bike. I'm kind of not a racing bike type of guy, but I like to ride a mountain bike around town and on and
do you wear the spandex shorts and the real tight jersey and little cap.
Oh yeah, the shoes and the hat and the, go Italy and all those things. So,
and you change your name to Ian, right?
No, but I do like now I wear regular clothes. So
yeah,
no, but I kind of get why they wear the spandexy stuff, because there's a little bit, if you're pedaling into a little bit of breeze, it really makes a difference. So,
well, you know what solves that?
A car,
an electric bicycle.
Oh,
and that was just last week's podcast entitled. If you haven't seen that, it's entitled "Old Fat Guys Can Ride Mountain Bikes Too," and that's especially true if you're riding an electric bike. So, big shout out to the Baku Mule, which they've sent me, and I'm testing out, and it rocks. So, anyway,
well, that's pretty cool.
It is.
So I guess that's
cool.
probably, you're probably still kind of positioned forward, because I was about to say that's one time when I do off body carry, because I think I've tried it a couple times, a typical IWB type carry, but I'm just not comfortable with it because one, you're bent over at the waist, you're kind of leaning forward a little bit, which is, you kind of start to get gravity working against the gun. You and the gun, what's the risk of it coming out? I'm not totally comfortable with it that way. Plus, you're moving around a lot. Plus, your shirt's blowing all over the place in the wind. So concealment might be a problem. So I do off body carry, and typically I like to use one of those. I haven't tried the fanny pack. I probably should, because that'd be better. But I use one of those sling pack type things. Mm-hmm. You've seen those where they basically You do a diagonal positioning around your back, just one strap over one shoulder and across the opposite side. So the idea is, you just kind of grab onto something they design, and the whole thing just rotates right around to the front. And it ends up sideways with a concealed carry pouch, kind of facing up and ready to pop open and use. It's not speed draw, it's not a 1.2 second draw and fire scenario, but compared to that or nothing, it's not bad, and it stays out of the way when you're riding, and you're not going to lose anything.
Well, here's my show and tell. It is the Victos low-key chest pack, and I haven't written it up yet, but if you've never used a chest pack, these things are the bomb. And what it does, it rides right in the center of your sternum, and I discovered them for backpacking, because that's another time when it's really hard to carry a gun, and I've tried a bunch of stuff, and then actually a buddy gave me another brand of chest pack, and for stuff like that where you're really active or outdoors, these things are really great. The Victos one so far, like I said, I haven't written it up yet, but it has all the bells and whistles, and I think it's going to turn into my new favorite. I wear it a lot when I go fishing and wading, because I can put Mr. Gun back here and carry a full size, and then I've still got pouches for all flies and all that accoutrement. But the only downside I found to a chest pack is there's a couple, I guess. It feels weird until you're used to it. They are warm. It cuts down on the cooling, and really probably the biggest issue is just getting it on. It's like struggling into a brassiere or something. Not that I've ever done that, but it's not. You don't just throw it on and go out the door. You got to be a little more deliberate about it. But again, it's one of those kind of unsung ways of carrying. And I'm kind of an evangelist, because, again, when you're doing something especially active and out in the outdoors, carrying a pack, wearing waders, something like that, this is a great way of doing it. I wouldn't wear it in bear country. Well, actually, I wear it a lot in black bear country, but in grizzly country, where you may have to shoot in that 1.2 seconds and, on target, I'd probably just carry a standard chest rig. But this allows, when I'm on the mountain bike trail or the rail trail near here riding, people don't lose their mind because I don't have a Model 29 strapped to my chest. So anyway, Victos low-key chest rig. I wanted to give them a shout out, and I'll be writing this up in guns.
Have you tried it with the electric bike yet?
Do what?
Have you tried it with the electric bike? Is there any impact when you're kind of leaning forward? Is it
not at all?
And all that out of the way?
Nope. Works really good. So other than the cooling airflow, and then when it gets pretty warm, I mean, you basically got something in front of your chest, and you don't realize how much air gets exchanged and cooled off. But not to the point I don't wear it. It just it's just something to be aware of. So, and as we always talk about, and we're talking about today, everything you do, every gun you carry, every way of carrying is a trade-off. So we're trying to, as Tom says, shooters are too binary. This sucks. This doesn't. I love this. I hate that. And that's not really the way the world works. It kind of, you get more capacity with this one, but it's maybe a smaller round. You got the great big powerful gun, but it's harder to conceal. So there's all these trade-offs, and that's what we're trying to talk about here is just some different ways of doing it.
And with carry, it's often a trade-off of something that's less than ideal, meaning not that 1.2 second possibility, because it's in a pack or on your back or whatever. And the trade-off is that and slower reaction, knowing that, some scenarios it's not going to help you. Others it will, but some it won't. And, or nothing. Right.
Yeah.
So.
And that always goes back to what I hammer on. And it's not the sexy thing that, you can really write up in a gun magazine because there's no equipment involved, but just the idea of situational awareness, whether you're talking a bear, you're talking a two-legged troublemaker. It's one thing. I mean, everybody should practice fast draw, fast rounds on target. But most of the time, if you've got your head out of your phone and out of your other orify, you're going to see a problem, and you can at least have a plan in mind and maybe even kind of be ready to go. And that's the part that, I don't feel like the gun journalism industry, we talk about that enough because, again, it's not sexy and there's no equipment involved. But even on the tactical side of the world, you start talking about that and people are like, okay, whatever. I want to hear about the new Death Dealer 5000. Right. And, I've lasted 62 years on this earth and had some interesting adventures, and never once did I go, man, I wish I wasn't paying attention before that happened. So my other little soapbox about this: carry duct tape to your back if you want to, but you just got to be aware and ready to go before you suddenly have to go to quick draw. So.
Puts the odds ever in your favor, right?
Exactly.
No guarantee, but definitely sways them into your favor.
Yep. So other means of off-body carry in hot weather, Tom, you do anything different?
A little bit. Sometimes I'll go with the briefcase thing, depending on the scenario and what I'm doing. I have a nice computer case that's kind of designed for that with a dedicated pocket. The one thing I would say is whatever off-body method might make sense for your particular activity, the dedicated pocket with a holster pouch inside of it is absolutely key. And that's for a couple of obvious reasons. One, protecting the trigger, but two, orientation. You put something, and you see this with a standard fanny pack, you put it in there and pretty soon gravity's going to take over and it's going to be upside down. If it's a semi, the grip's going to go towards the floor and, things will move around and it won't be as you expect should you ever try and retrieve it. So holster. Yeah.
And I think we've probably all had that experience of having a gun in someplace and you go to reach for it and you don't feel the grip. You feel like the muzzle or something. It's like, oh, good Lord.
The fiery hole in the end, right?
Yeah. That's not good. And I had that happen not too long ago. I keep a gun hidden in my truck, and somehow, some way, because that's what happens in life, things happen. I reached for it, and instead of wrapping my hand around the grip, I wrapped my hand around the forward part of the muzzle. And I'm like, okay. It didn't. And fortunately, I didn't need it. I wasn't drawing, but I just wanted to make sure it was there, make sure it was in the proper position. For that very reason, it's like, another 90 degrees of rotation had been pointed right at me. So, that stuff happens. So you got to check on it. But, hey, I've got one more show and tell, Tom.
Oh, cool. What do you got?
This is cool. This may be the ultimate off-body carry, and I just got it, so it's still got the tags on it. It looks like a plain black, gun pack with integral holster and all that stuff. But this is the Bodyguard Switchback. And you know what's cool about this thing? Level 3A bullet resistant.
Really?
So, yeah. So it's got a pouch in here. You put your inserts. and it's got, you know, all the tactical stuff you need, but it's not super tactical looking, so you can still maintain your gray man. But I hope I'm not wrong on this, because like I said, I just got it. I've not played with it. It looks like they've got a carrier that flops out so you can wear it on the front too. So you can be bulletproof in the back, or you can swap it, put it in the front. So Bodyguard, I wrote it down, the Switchback 3A. And I've got a couple buddies that are school resource officers, and I'm going to let them test that out. I mean, they're wearing armor, but still, it would be nice if you're advancing on a active shooter, maybe throw that in front of you and have extra. Yeah. You know, nobody will ever complain about having extra bullet resistant material.
Is the armor portion built into the thing, or is that a separate insert that you put into the?
It is soft panels.
Oh, okay. And, so they are removable then.
Yep. And like I said, I hope I should have investigated this more, but I just thought of this at the last second. But yeah, I think that carrier device, you know, so basically you've got body armor. So, right. And then of course when it's on your back. So that's pretty cool. And they're not as expensive as you would think. And don't ask me, Tom, because we always do that to each other. But I was surprised. It's reasonable. Yeah. Now, I don't know if I would send my school age grandkids to school wearing this, because I think there's low risk and high risk of turning them into, oh my God, we're going to get shot. So I don't know if that's the right message to send, but for adults that want to have that option, I think that's not a bad idea. So I'll be testing that further, probably do a video on it. So
I need to know if it's compatible with an electric bike too. So sure, and try out that scenario. You never know. So
anyway, Tom, any other thoughts on carrying when it's 4,000 degrees outside? Yeah,
actually. Consider, you know, again, assuming IWB, consider an underlayer. You know, the good old classic undershirt, cotton or compression spandexy stuff. You know, both of those work and have various pros and cons. But you know, I guess it's an old life lesson. You can actually be cooler with a proper undershirt than without one sometimes. So, but in the case of carrying, you're protecting against abrasion and helping with the moisture a little bit too.
And it's pretty amazing how some of those wicking shirts work. And you know what? That brings it full circle, because as I said, I'm going to include that little snippet when we record as you were disrobing before this episode. So
I'm not using one today. I am indoors. So
yes. Well, keep your shirt on. And I don't think we've even mentioned it. I'm sure most folks know you're the editor of AmericanHandgunner.com and American Handgunner Magazine. So anything cool coming up here in the near future?
Well, you were talking about James Bond a minute ago, and, you know, we've just heard from our friends at Walther, new PPK model in 32.
Dun-dun.
I know, I love that. I've got to get one.
Oh, very cool. And we've got a
PPKS in 380, but there's just something about 32 for the Bond gun.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be wearing it when you put on your tuxedo, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. And we've also got a pretty cool deal coming up. It's the 23rd, right? Because we messed up that date during our meeting the other day, but it is the 23rd. Yep. At 8 p.m. Eastern, and you'll have to do the math for the rest of the country. We're going to do Meet the Editors, and we're excited about this. Circle it on your calendar. It will be actually live, not live to tape, live. And you can get on YouTube and Facebook and ask us questions. Anything except we're not going to value guns, because that just never goes well. But anything else you want to ask Tom about what kind of undershirt he wears, or Roy Huntington's going to be there, and I figure we'll get a lot of questions about, you know, really arcane gun smithing topics. So, and of course, Roy knows the answer always.
DIY. He's making his own bullet molds now. So
is he really? I didn't know that.
See what happens when you retire. You do all kinds of crazy stuff out in the shop. So
yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like when we were talking about electric bikes, I was waxing poetic, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I've had one for a couple of years." It's like, what haven't you done,
Of course
Roy?
you have.
So, and he doesn't just get into something. It'll be, well, yeah, I've tested one. I took it to Daytona and, ran time trials. And of course you did. Roy's what I want to be when I grow up, which is probably never, but anyway. So the 23rd, May 23rd, 2024, 8 p.m. Eastern, and throughout the world and the country. And you'll be able to ask all of us. I think Eric Gelhaus, the editor of AmericanCop.com and a recently retired officer, he'll be there. He's kind of our tactical guy. He knows all about stuff, and he's a red dot. He would bridle at this characterization, but he's an expert on red dots. He teaches at Gunsight Academy a lot, and he's got that in pretty well covered, and the rest of us do too, but he's the practicing expert. So me, you, Roy, and Eric on the 23rd at 8 p.m. So circle it on your calendar, and we'll be promoting that too as we get closer. So, well, Tom, it's been great. And other than when you were opening your shirt at the beginning, and I appreciate you talking about how to deal with heat and summertime.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, I always have a great time talking to my cohort, American Handgunner Magazine editor Tom McHale, and hopefully we gave you some good tips on how to deal with the heat and humidity this summer when you're carrying concealed. Before we go, I would like to remind you, please check out all of our great magazines. Of course, Guns Magazine at gunsmagazine.com, American Handgunner Magazine at americanhandgunner.com, and our sister publication, americancop.com. Well, that's it for this episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. On behalf of everybody that works at those great magazines and FMG Publications, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat, reminding you yet again, now get out there and get shooting.